Racist bully ruins my life, I annihilated hers. When I F28 was in elementary school, I had a bully. I'll call her AIA because it's the only nice thing I will ever do for her. It all started in the first grade. She was the instant popular girl because she talked about her time in Ghana. She was born and raised there up until she was 4 years old when her parents immigrated to America, and I thought that was so cool because the only immigrants I have ever known were from Mexico. I'm also Mexican, which is something you need to remember, because we lived in Texas. I asked her what was life like in Africa. She looked at me and said in a very smug voice, "A lot better than Mexico." I thought that was weird, but I let it go because we were kids at the time and I think she just wanted to be cool or something. As the year went on, she always made offhanded comments about me being Mexican, and it was always directed towards me. It wasn't until the second grade when we were just learning this brand new word that we have never heard of before, racism. 7-year-old me at the time vaguely understood it because my mom taught me the words that was derogatory towards us and wanted me to be aware of them. Anyway, we were watching a cartoon about Martin Luther King Jr. and we were at a scene where the protesters were being unjustly arrested. I thought it was cruel and didn't think it was fair. AIA though looked at me and shouted, "A beaner like you would never understand." For those who don't know, the word beaner is a slur against Latin people. Sure, it's not as disgusting as the N-word, but it is a disgusting word to people like me, and I've been called that a lot of times even back then. I was horrified being called that in the middle of class, and I looked at my teacher who just shrugged her shoulders and went back to the show. I couldn't believe it. We're learning about the civil rights movement and I was called a racial slur in front of everyone. I tried asking my teacher why didn't she say anything because what they called me was a bad word towards me and my ethnicity. All she did was say, "It's just a word, just a word, citizen, sticks and stones." I ran home in tears and told my mom everything. She was upset at first, but at the time she told me that AIA probably didn't know that that word was a bad word towards Latin people and maybe she'll figure it out when she's older or say sorry the next day. How wrong my mother was. For the next 4 years, AIA would throw racial slurs at me, calling me a beaner who eats nothing but beans or a wetback because I must have crossed the Rio Grande River. I begged her every single time to stop and I went to my teachers pleading with them for help, but they never did anything. It wasn't just the racial slurs she threw at me. She would insult me for the way I looked, the way my hair was, why I was bigger compared to the other girls who were slim. She wasn't a model herself either. Things got worse in the 4th grade. I was going through a rough time because my mom was dating a man who drank beer as if prohibition ended. He also smoked heavily and the smell will end up on my clothes, which added fuel for AIA's fire. It was when DARE was a big thing back in the day. I would always use me as an example about the dangers of smoking, pointing out how the smell was so bad that she constantly plugged her nose every time she walked by me. It led to rumors of me never taking a bath that followed me up until the end of 6th grade. At this time my mom was starting to realize that AIA was not stopping and she tried contacting the school, but all she would get was that it was just a disagreement between 2 classmates. She wrote notes for me to give to my teachers, but nothing would happen, and in the 5th grade things really took a bad toll. My grandfather passed away and his death hurt me so much that even to this day I still feel that raw pain of his passing. Word got out to my school and AIA walked up to me saying how sorry she was that my grandfather was gone. I naively thought that maybe, just maybe, she would stop being a bully and say sorry for saying racist things towards me. Nope. It's sad that he died to get away from you. I would too if I realized my granddaughter was so ugly. I broke into tears while she and a few of her friends laughed. And as always, none of my teachers did anything to stop her. I told my mom, who managed to finally get a hold of my teacher and demanded that she do something about A, or else she was going to go up there and make her stop. So for the first time in the whole year, my teacher walked up to AIA and told her to stop being so mean to me. I looked at her and burst into tears crying that she was being so mean. "It's because I'm black, isn't it?" Immediately my stupid teacher backed off. AIA would go on to use that phrase every single time any of our teachers even attempted to do something. Now you're probably wondering, how did she ruin my life? Well, I'm getting to it. Things slowly quieted down when I was in 6th grade, but A was plotting something. I used to draw anime a lot. I wasn't any good, but I practiced every single day and slowly my skills were improving. I was drawing the main cast of Sailor Moon during free period and it was a decent first attempt, really. For once there were no stray pencil marks and I didn't have to erase as much. I left to go to the bathroom, and when I came back my drawing was ruined. It had pen marks everywhere with the words beaner and wetback in permanent marker all over it. I was devastated and broke down. I worked so hard on that drawing and it was vandalized with hate. I looked over to a group of desks where AIA was sitting and I saw her laughing. She and a couple of her girlfriends were saying how funny it was I was crying over a stupid picture, and I saw that she had that stupid permanent marker in her desk. I marched up to her and yelled at her. I demand to know, what is it about me she hated so much? Why was she acting like a racist towards me when I did nothing to her? I was crying, I was screaming, and my teacher told both of us to go to the office. I thought we were finally going to solve the issue, but as always I was wrong. My principal looked at the both of us and said that I should apologize to AIA. Me? What? P. Apologize to A for yelling at her. Just because you're upset over drawing doesn't mean you have to yell at a classmate for it. Me? But she ruined my drawing. She wrote slurs all over it. I should point out that she even had permanent marker stains on her hands. Me? Why aren't you telling her that you don't tolerate racism in this school? Why are you always taking her side? P. I'm not taking sides, young lady, but those are just words. Sticks and stones. I honestly didn't know what to feel at that moment. I realized that AIA was getting away with her racism and there was nothing I could do about it. I still refused to apologize and the principal called my mom, who demanded that the principal do something about AIA, but nothing happened as always. After that incident, AIA was emboldened at the fact that she could get away with the bullying and made my life hell. She destroyed me. It was to the point where I could no longer draw again. Even to this day, if I even try to draw a character I liked, I would break into tears and just stop. My mom tried everything. She pleaded, she demanded, and she threatened, but my school just brushed it off as an overprotective single mom who just didn't like seeing her overly sensitive child hurt. In my mom's perspective, from what she told me, she watched as her happy-go-lucky little girl slowly morphed into a sad and combative teenager. I developed a hatred towards my own ethnicity and I cried that I wished I was white because I hated being called those words, and I hated the way my face looked because I could see my Native American features. That's right, I'm indigenous too. She made me hate myself. It was only after elementary school did the bullying finally stop, because she went to a different junior high school, but just because I was able to get away from her didn't mean that the effects of her bullying stopped. I had to go to therapy to get rid of the terrible things she said to me out of my head and slowly regain myself as a person. My family, who knew of the bullying, gathered around and gave me unconditional love and support, all the while telling me stories of our ancestors who started our family, how they fled Spain during the Texas Revolution. I even went to the tribe I was descended from to help gain a better understanding of my indigenous roots, and they helped me immensely as well. Yeah, AIA and I ended up going to the same high school, but I avoided her like the plague because I wanted nothing to do with her or her bullshit. AIA was a model student, and during Black History Month, we used to have an assembly where we talked about the great black figures in history. She would always go on the podium and talk about how proud she was of her race and that we should embrace everyone of different race, religion, and all that good stuff. It took all of my willpower and constant reminding of myself that what happened in elementary school was in the past to not laugh and roll my eyes. I just thought she was a piece of work. Fast forward to 2021. I was packing up my room because I was getting ready to move some of my stuff to my new house with my then fiancé, now husband, while we were planning our wedding. I was reading a book on my phone when I got a notification from someone I hadn't seen since high school. It was AIA. I'm an adult now, so instead of feeling the terrible anxiety I would always feel whenever I would get a note from her, I just looked at it annoyed and wondered what the hell did she want, and opened it. Apparently she was hosting our elementary school reunion because the old building was being torn down in place of a new one. She was inviting everyone who went to school there so we can say goodbye to the old girl. Honestly, I didn't want to go because that school has done nothing but bring me grief and anger. Just driving by it over the years would make my heart pound uncomfortably. I wanted to decline, but I thought to myself, that stupid school will be destroyed, why not spit on it or something? And then something sparked in my head. This could be my last chance to expose AIA for what she really was. AIA, no good racist who takes joy in other people's misery. And it wasn't just me she threw racial slurs at. She was like that to everyone. From the girl who was from Delhi to a Chinese student who ended up transferring to a different school because he couldn't take it anymore. The planning. Having dinner with my mom, I asked her if she remembered the girl who used to bully me. She gripped her fork and said that she did remember and how much she hated that little bitch. I asked her if she remembered going to the school many times to complain about her, and she said yes, and that she had written down everything that was said. And knowing my mom, she never threw anything away because it was important documents. I decided to look into her old files and I found them. It was not only the notes mom took, but it was also full of the hateful messages AIA wrote to me, even my Sailor Moon drawing that had those terrible racial slurs on it. The terrible feeling of self-hatred and sorrow came back in full. I was close to tears seeing that drawing and those notes. I really wanted to know why she had so much hate in her heart. After calming myself down, I went to work. I printed copies of the notes along with a note from my principal which said it seems that AIA called Justabardsits and nasty words based on her ethnicity. It was even signed by that principal, which proved two things. A was a racist and the school knew but refused to do anything. The revenge. The little party was basically a barbecue on the school playground. I showed up in casual clothing and saw my old classmates for the first time in years. To say the least, I was the only one who still looked fresh-faced and not worn down by parenthood. I did catch up to a few of them. Most of them were actually AIA's victims, but unlike me, they ignored her when she would bully them. Looking around, I actually saw some known members of our local equal rights group. I assumed she invited them because AIA made a name for herself over the years since graduation. It almost made me feel sorry for what I was going to do. And when I mean almost, I mean never. The little barbecue went by smoothly and AIA was talking about the beautiful memories she had at our old school and that she was so thankful that they welcomed her with open arms because she was an immigrant from a faraway country and was worried of not being able to belong. I remembered how proud she was when she first walked in our class, no fear at all. After her passionate farewell speech, everyone in our class took turns saying their own farewells. They half-assed their speeches and some just said that the school was awesome. When it was my turn, I looked around and saw everyone staring at me.